No Harry Potter movie is
And
good.
you're like, give me the Snyder Cut. Oh, sorry, just walk in front of you here. Gonna put my popcorn down. Oh, sorry, gonna put this here.
Universal needs to sue Sony.
Hey, I'm an idiot. I was fired from Fox. Let me go.
I'd like actually to see Venom just crush Spider-Man.
Hello, everyone. So I'm back today, and well, who knew that the Hollywood Reporter and other news outlets and other people would start spinning things and clickbaiting? Who knew? This happened a few days ago, but then it just kind of continued, and so I was kind of like, do I talk about it? Do I not? Do I not? And then I decided, okay, fine, whatever. I'm going to talk about it because I need to clear some things up, and I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not a legal expert, so there is an extent to which, and I'm just gonna fix this so it doesn't like make me too quiet. But there is an extent to which these, I guess, these matters. I've done a lot of research, and I do have a very well formed understanding, and so I want to kind of summarize it in a very concise and very understandable way because the people like the Hollywood Reporter, and especially in the latest article they did, I might link somewhere in the description thing, I don't know, or I might not, I don't know, but I'm just going to kind of talk about this, explain what's going on so everyone understands, and so we're not spreading misinformation because that's happened a lot with this, and I just want to kind of clear everything up. So first, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment if you want more stuff like this and all that stuff. Okay, let's get into it. So recently, as in a few days ago, I think it was like over the weekend, the Hollywood Reporter and Variety reported that there would be a lawsuit against Disney for the Marvel characters, and this would be a lawsuit from the estates of certain characters, of the comic creators of certain characters, to try to get co-ownership. And now, of course, it took the Hollywood Reporter a long time to go from they're getting rid of the MCU characters to co-ownership, but eventually they got there over the course of the day. And then they had updated, and once they updated their article, that was much better. But I do want to make one thing clear, which is that there was almost zero threat of the MCU characters leaving the MCU. Okay, I just want to make that very perfectly clear, is that the chances of that happening are nearly zero. And so I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to kind of explain this step by step, essentially, and kind of tell you why I'm not worried and why you shouldn't be either. And at the end of the day, I'll explain what's happening, but it's not something you should really worry about too much. So the first thing is, people are assuming this is going to actually go to court. I personally believe this will be settled before it even gets to litigation, and that Disney will basically just pay them, which means essentially Disney will just pay all the parties a certain amount of money, and everyone will be happy, and we'll all be done. Because at the end of the day, look, these people, they're really just looking for money. They have no other interest here and no other reason to do anything, right? And that's the thing that will be paramount to just this whole idea of everything, is just they're looking for the money. So whatever's going to get them the most amount of money and the easiest amount of money is what they're going to do. So yes, I think this gets settled. Now, theoretically, okay, because I'm just going to play devil's advocate here, if it does go to litigation, okay? Now, the one case which people have been referencing a lot is the case with, and I think the Hollywood Reporter actually talked about this case, which is the Kirby case, which happened, again, when it was Kirby, Jack Kirby, who, of course, has done a ton of things, and versus Marvel Comics and Disney, right? Which is and now in this case, they kind of set a precedent. So they set essentially, the courts set a legal guideline, I guess, right? Where they talked when they kind of went over this, and it talks about the idea of work for hire, right? Because the big argument here is, and I'm going to try to explain this as simply as possible, but essentially it's this work for hire argument, which is that if you were not hired specifically to create this character and you kind of created it on your own, then the creator is still entitled, and the heirs of the creator are still entitled to the copyrights for that character, and it's not necessarily the property of Marvel, but it's instead the property of the creator, who Marvel obviously has been given the ability to use, so you can then therefore theoretically take it back, right? That's the whole premise around this. Now, when the Kirby case went to court, whenever it did, I don't remember when it went to court exactly. I have my notes right here. 2013, I believe. Maybe it was around 2013, or a little bit earlier than that. I think, or maybe it was even earlier than that, in like the early or late 90s. So either way, whenever it went to court, what happened, 2010 is what happened, because that's when Disney did the suit against them, or did the countersuit, I guess. And so essentially what happened was they kind of argued about this idea of work for hire, and the courts basically said, yes, this work for hire thing that you talk about it works, right? And essentially they're saying they basically redefined, I guess, work for hire to a business transaction between an independent creator and a commissioning party, and considering that kind of thing a work for hire. And that was kind of the initial premise, right? Is if someone contracts you to do something, even if you create the character yourself, it's still technically work for hire. Now, they appealed it, whatever, and I believe it lost on appeal, and then it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically looked at it again and said, then they went off to seek relief from the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court kind of was like, we're going to let this go forward, and then despite the lower court and the Court of Appeal both saying no, then the Supreme Court said, we'll look at this, we'll let it go to trial, and then Disney just settled and paid him out, and it paid the state out, and it was all good, right? So, and that kind of just died there. Now, when it comes to this, I do agree with the analysis, I guess, that has been provided, that Disney will probably, if assuming the settlement doesn't work out, which I do again believe they'll be settled and this will all die out, but if it doesn't, then I do agree with the idea that Disney will argue, obviously, that this idea of the work for hire thing, and I believe that will work, and I believe that will be, the courts aren't interested, and they know this precedent exists. They'll just point to this and say, great, good, let's move on with our lives. But again, now we're going to continue this hypothetical road. Let's say that doesn't work, right? And let's say they decide, nope, you know what? You're going to be co-owners of this, right? So assuming the legal argument doesn't work, assuming or maybe, whatever on appeal, or if they bring it to I don't think the Supreme Court looks at this, but, assumably it goes to the Supreme Court, whatever, and they decide, nope, not valid, then what I can foresee happening if they say, okay, co-ownership, is, look, can they license these characters off to other people? Yes, they can. Will they? No. Do you know why? Because this is the thing. Like I said before, it's about money. And they also understand, as much as we do, that Disney is going to be where the money is for these characters, right? The MCU is a massive money-making machine. I don't think you're going to see a case where these people are like, we'd rather risk this. Because even Sony, with Spider-Man, right? They saw this as like Disney's going to get us money for Spider-Man that we weren't getting with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, so let's let Disney do a little bit of this. We'll take a lot of the profits. Now, this could happen to a greater extent, obviously, with these characters. Again, assuming that it ends up with co-ownership, whatever, they would have to split the profits. Now, that's a lot of money for Disney, and that is one point which I think Disney's kind of concerned about to the extent. But again, does it impact the consumer directly? Does it impact you guys? No, right? But it does obviously impact Disney, and Disney will obviously be thinking about that and probably be weighing the pros and cons of settling this just before it gets to any of this litigation. Plus, litigation is expensive and time-consuming and annoying. So, all of that stuff prior, I'm sure they're looking at the pros and cons right now. But obviously, this is just another one in the many legal challenges that Disney's had to face with, obviously, the Scarlett Johansson lawsuit and a lot of these kind of things. But I do believe that if it does go, and even if it goes to co-ownership, they're not going to move this, license the property elsewhere, because it doesn't make sense from a money perspective. They make more money with the MCU being successful than they would otherwise. So really, the moral of the story here is, look, is there a worst case scenario where they decide to start, tearing up the characters if everything goes their way and, Disney's massive money? Yes, but at the same time, I don't think so. And now the other thing I want to point out, actually, from the Hollywood Reporter article, the one that came out, they made today, I believe, on September 27th. Yeah. So the one I want to talk about here is they actually brought up something which I believe I'm fairly confident is incorrect. And I want to just kind of point that out here. And that'll probably be the end of that after I do this. But they talk about foreign copyright laws, and then they talk about Canada, right? And talk about how essentially, the copyright to the estate is after 25 years after the author's death. But actually what happened, and even for the other stuff with the co-ownership, what happened was, or what has happened is, after the USMCA deal was signed, those rights, or those it's the 75 years or whatever it is in the US. So it's not like and all the copyright laws are, I think, almost identical because of USMCA. So that's just like something to point out, is that yes, some foreign laws are different, but I'm pretty sure, fairly confident, that because of the USMCA copyright stuff, all the Canadian rules and the US rules and the Mexico rules are all the same. And again, you have to remember that at the end of the day, the government also understands, all the countries' governments understand, they can change these rules fairly easily. B, they understand the money aspect of this, and they understand the business aspect of this, and so no government's going to say, yeah, we're not going to change these rules, so, because they do bring up the possibility in the Hollywood Reporter article of, a possible, of something like Canada not being able to see Loki, future season of Loki. And I don't think that'll happen again, because remember, the government can change these laws pretty easily, right? These are very easy things to change. And from a perspective of I guess the lobby groups, look at the big lobby groups. You tell me that they're not going to see it either, again, through the lobby groups or through other means, see that the best thing to do is change these rules. Like, I'm not particularly worried. I don't think anyone else should be either. That's kind of the moral of the story here. And I just don't believe the fear-mongering and the kind of the clickbaity stuff. I just want to explain it. I thought I explained it pretty concisely, but let me know what you thought down below, and let me know what you think of the whole situation, because I'm interested to hear what people think about this. And don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share your thoughts, follow us on social media, and of course, as always, see you next time. Bye.